Welcome back, everybody. Joe Evers, the fence expert, and you guys are live in the new studio. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We're still working out a little bit of, I don't know about technical difficulties, just dialing everything in a little bit. Let me know how this sounds for you guys. Here in this new studio, it's a little bit echoey, so we might have to look into doing some sound conditioning in here, maybe a little bit. But let me know what you guys think. Some of you guys are already in here, letting me know and checking in. Roger's going to see if he can listen in while he's at work. I appreciate that a lot, Roger. Tell you what, Roger's one of the kind of the OGs, right? He's been with the channel for quite a while. Roger, I really appreciate it. What's up, Kevin? Kevin says, what's up, guys? My guys get so mad at me on Thursdays because we were listening to this instead of music. Well, Kevin, thank you. And Kevin's guys, I apologize. You know, I get it. Not everyone wants to listen to a fence guy go on and on and on, but I appreciate it anyway. All right. So Chad says it's looking good. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Roger says it sounds good. That's always good. I'm going to go back and listen to the replay, make sure, just make sure it sounds how I want it to sound. Like I said, here in studio right now live, it sounds echoey in here. I really thought that we got we got our lights up, we got everything up, and it still sounds echoey. I really thought it might knock down some of the sound, but we might end up doing a little bit of sound treatment. Or maybe I'll listen to the replay and you can't hear it at all, and it's just me imagining things. Candace is saying they're broadcasting the main office. Which is, listen, one of my most favorite things about the new studio is we're in the same office complex as our office. So no more is it me jumping in the truck and driving 5 minutes over to the studio and talking to you guys and recording this and then rushing back by the office to make sure everything's locked up tight and make sure no one had any issues getting out and all that. Now it's as easy as when I'm done, we simply click off the lights and head downstairs and lock everything up. So it's definitely going to be nice. All right, Walter's checking in, says it sounds good. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate you letting me know. Kevin says it sounds great. Well, all right. Well, we probably just won't even worry about the sound conditioning at all in here. So that's probably one of the benefits of using, the mic is a Shure, the 7M7 or SM7B. They're a little bit pricey, but the audio quality is nicer on them. And then we go to a Rodecaster Pro, and so maybe it's filtering out all the echo where you guys can't even hear it. And if so, I like that a lot because I'm getting a lot of echo in here. WPH says, "Hey, I wanted to watch some of your live streams and ask if you do wire fences." So it depends what type of wire fence. If you're talking about maybe like an agricultural wire, we don't specialize in agricultural fencing. There's just not a lot of it in our area enough to warrant starting up, a new crew or a couple new crews and investing in equipment and training and that sort of thing for agricultural. If in wire you're meaning chain link fencing, then we do quite a bit of chain link fence, both on residential, mostly over on the commercial side, right? A lot of those commercial projects call for 6 foot tall, 3 strands of barbed wire, that sort of thing. So it really depends on what kind of wire you're talking about. But great question, WPH. Guys, as you guys are checking in, as you guys are logging in, check in with me. Let me know you're here by dropping a comment below. Of course, you can always ask whatever questions are on your mind, whether they're fence related, business related, marketing, whatever's on your mind, drop it in the comments below. I always enjoy being as helpful as possible. I'd be happy to answer any of your guys' questions and help as much as I can. So it's been a busy week. It's been a busy couple of weeks. So right after I got done talking with you guys last Thursday, on Friday, we started moving our whole office over, which, it's on the same property. What we did was we bought the property next to ours that had offices pre-built, already ready to go, and had some production shops as well. And so in my mind, it was, well, listen, we're just moving 150 feet away. It's not that bad, right? We're not moving across the city or across the state. It's literally right over there. What I found out was I would almost have rather have moved across a city or a state because then we would have had, moving trucks and we would have loaded everything up and made it in one trip. Instead, it was pretty much all day Friday. In fact, let's hear till, what time was it? Friday night, probably till around 7:30, getting all the internet and the phones and everything like that lined up so that when Thursday came around, we'd have good internet ready so I could live stream for you guys. And then if you guys follow our business page, the Ozark Fence Facebook page and YouTube page, we do Ask a Fence Gal on Fridays there. So we want to make sure the internet was supreme and ready to go for that as well. Of course, also, getting business stuff ready too. We only wanted the office closed. So we closed down our office on Friday completely. That way we could tear down the old office, move everything over. I tell you what, 150 to 200 feet never felt so long as to when we were boxing everything up and carrying it over. There were quite a few trips made back and forth, but suffice to say, we're here. The studio set up. Actually, Jeremy and I took. Well, I took most of the day Tuesday moving stuff over. And then Jeremy and I took the majority of the day yesterday moving stuff over and getting everything set up. While we were doing that, we also shot a piece of content for you guys, basically showing you guys what's involved in moving a studio and roughly how we have the new studio set up. Now, this is version 1.0 of the new studio. And I'm sure as we record content and talk with you guys, I'm sure we'll find new ways and better ways of producing content and getting it to you, different layouts maybe. One thing that's for sure is this layout's pretty much how it's going to stay as far as the desk and the background. Also shot a piece of content showing you guys the background here. So if you guys remember, in the old studio, there's a nice wood backdrop there, but it was actually just a cloth backdrop that I bought off Amazon. So this is actual wood. It's actual redwood. So as a company we found called Rewood, I reached out to them, said, hey, I've got this YouTube studio we're building out, and I think it would look really good with Rewood product. And the reason I like the Rewood product is it's recycled redwood fence pickets. So literally these guys and gals take down redwood fences, and if the pickets aren't just completely used up, all the life gone out of them, they'll plane one side of them down. Then they actually put on a 3M adhesive, 2 strips of 3M adhesive on the pickets. And at first I was a little skeptical. I mean, it looked like a quality product, but I was skeptical. 3M, how well is 3M adhesive going to hold? Well, let me tell you something. So over on this wall, I got a little off, and the pickets they weren't lining up how I wanted to. So I started taking them off. And I'm not kidding. It took pieces of drywall off with this adhesive. So it's tough stuff, and it's built to last. But yeah, so the Rewood background, looking at it. So I'm looking at it here on the laptop. It actually looks pretty good. Pretty good. We're still working with the lighting. You guys can see some shadows like here and shadows here. So we'll probably work on maybe getting some backlight in here somehow. So we might play with the layout a little bit just to try to make it look a little bit nicer for you guys, look a little bit more professional. But yeah, so it's a new studio, and I'm loving it. So what we're looking at right now is what I envision to be like the recording desk. So all the recorded content would go on here. I actually have another desk just kind of right off screen on the other wall that I'm really wanting to try to figure out if I could make a live desk over there. What I'd like to do is give you guys a different look at the studio so that those of you that follow the content, and it's not the same look, video after video. I'd like to give you a different look for the live content, give you guys a little bit added bonus there. So, of course, now that the weather's turning off nice, you guys start seeing more recorded content out of doors we came out of the winter storms. I think everyone got a piece of, what was that? Probably 4 weeks ago now. And now we're into monsoon season. Tell you what, today is absolutely dumped buckets on us. It has rained all day long, off and on. Tomorrow's supposed to rain. Over the weekend, I think we're supposed to get 9 or 10 inches of rain through Sunday. So we went straight from winter into monsoon season. But once monsoon season's over and once we're clear of winter, we ought to be able to get some more recorded content outside for you guys, give you guys a little bit of change of a scenery. Did I say that right? A little bit of a change in scenery. There it is. All right, let me check in with you guys, see what's going on in the chat. Like I said, as you guys are coming in, there's 12 of you watching. I appreciate that a lot. Drop me a comment in the comments below. Let me know you're hanging out, listening, and watching. I'd like to say hi to you guys. WPH, he had asked earlier if we did wire fences. So a little bit of follow-up. I just want to know because I do rural farm wire fences in New Zealand. That is incredible. So we've got viewers in New Zealand. That is really neat. That's so no, to answer your question, we don't do agricultural fencing. There's just not enough of it in our market to justify, the equipment. We follow. There's a couple fencing channels. One of them's SWI. Those guys primarily they specialize in agricultural fencing because in their market they do tons of it. Right? It makes sense to get the equipment, all the materials you need to inventory, get the product specific training. But in our market, there's just not enough agricultural fence to make it worthwhile for us to really make that investment into the equipment, inventory, and training. Well, WPH, welcome from New Zealand. So we actually have a piece of content coming out this Saturday. I don't think it was you. So there's a few folks watching us from like the New Zealand and Australia, and I understand you guys are different. So I'm not lumping you in the same bucket. But from here in the United States, you're kind of over in the same area, right? Someone was mentioning a channel called Miter 10 that we ought to look at their content and do a review. We actually do have a review video coming up from Miter 10 on Saturday. It was really interesting taking a look at how, the differences, similarities in how we build fence half a world away, right? Of course, everything's in the metric system rather than in the imperial system. But yeah, it was a neat and refreshing look at most of it's the same. And it was a privacy fence, and most of how the fence was built is exactly the same, which is really interesting to see. So WPH, welcome. I tell you what, New Zealand has to be the furthest viewer away. But as you guys are dropping in, let me know where you're from as well. That's one thing I like to do on a weekly basis is get a mental picture of where everyone's at any given time and see how far this YouTube channel reaches. So far, New Zealand has got to be the furthest. Welcome back, Keisha. Keisha says, Keisha or Keisha? I apologize. I'm going to go with Keisha. I went to school with a girl named Keisha, spelled the same way, so I'm hoping that's how you pronounce your name. I have an 8-foot fence, and the wood, which is pressure treated, post holding my gate is splitting right down the middle. What should I do? So splitting, checking, it's actually fairly common and pressure treated. So as long as that checking or the split doesn't go more than halfway through that board, I think you're fine. A lot of times they'll develop surface cracks or surface splits, which cosmetically obviously don't look great, but structurally they don't have a huge impact on the gate itself. As far as repairing it, so if it goes more than halfway through, or if you're just really concerned with the structural integrity of that post, there's not many repair options available. I mean, short of just replacing it, I can't. If your post was at my house, honestly, if it's splitting, if I'm concerned with the structural integrity, I'd remove it and start over. I'd prefer a steel post. There's a lot of fence guys out there that still use wood posts on gates, have a lot of success with it. So I'm not saying using a wood post is wrong per se. We just prefer to use steel posts. So you might consider that, Keisha. Great question, though. Love the fence-related questions. Stephen, what is up? Welcome. Stephen's actually right here in the Springfield metro area. So it's nice to talk to a guy from a local guy. So thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. Appreciate the props on the new studio. You'll have to come by and take a look at it. Shoot me a message. Stephen and I know each other personally, so you'll need to come by and check it out. I'll take you for a full tour. I love this name. It's just speculation. What price for a neighboring fence only is too good to be true? Hoping to avoid hiring too cheap and get a bad fence at a good price. Yeah, so that's a great question. That is truly a great question. So the pricing thing is going to depend. So there's no like set price for fencing. Obviously, that would be price fixing, which is incredibly illegal. I can't talk with someone else and say, hey, you know what I think? I think 6 foot tall pricey fence should be X many dollars a feet. And it's going to vary depending. Sean King, Mr. Fence, and I were doing an interview. Gosh, it's probably been a month ago now, and we were talking about our companies are roughly the same size and markets that are probably similarly sized. But my point being, Sean and I were talking that even if our companies same size, same roughly employees and all that, even if we're in the same market, our pricing's probably different. Just because overhead is different, we probably negotiate different rates on materials, pay our employees, our team members differently. So when we're saying what price for neighboring fence only is too good to be true, there's not really a number, right? It's not, and I'm not going to say, well, if it's X many dollars a feet or less, you really ought to take, you really ought to be careful. Honestly, what I would do, I would probably reach out to 3 to 4 fence companies in your area, 2 to 3. It depends on the size of the market. If you have several established, reputable fence companies, reach out and just say, hey, I've got X many feet, ballpark. What do you think that should run? Talking about, we didn't talk about what type of fence, but in our market, it would probably be a 6-foot privacy fence. So I'm looking at a 6-foot privacy fence. I'm looking at 57 foot of it. What do you think that ought to cost? And get an idea for what price ranges fences are in your area. And obviously, once you start seeing 2, 3, 4 prices, it becomes pretty apparent which price is too good to be true, right? They should all be within 10, 15, maybe 20% of each other. Typically the prices all end up within 10 or 15% of each other because, well, our prices are different. Our material, labor, et cetera, prices, overhead prices are different. They're all in the same ballpark. I would recommend reaching out to several different companies in your market to see what that particular line of fence would. And then, like I said, it'll kind of jump out to you as to what just seems like too good to be true. Because like anything, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Ashley Roth, what is up, Ashley? The new office looks good. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ashley. I'm going to have you guys down now. So Ashley's with Stain and Seal Experts. For more information about Stain and Seal Experts, you can find their link below. They're a sponsor of the live channel, and I really, really appreciate that. But Ashley, I'm going to have you guys over. I've gone through your guys' facility twice now, at least twice, maybe more. Your daughter is a phenomenal cook and always makes me cookies, which I appreciate a lot. You guys are going to have to come down to Missouri and come walk through the place and come see it for yourselves. We'd sure enjoy hosting you guys because you've been incredible hosts for me in the past. Jeff Kepper, what is up? Hey, Joe, checking in from Pennsylvania. Weather's well and fences going into the ground. I am jealous, Jeff. So, as I said earlier, it is dumping buckets here. And now, in the last few days, it's actually been pretty nice, but we're right smack dab in the start of a monsoon, probably a 3 or 4 day monsoon. Supposed to dump something like 8 to 10 inches of rain through Sunday, leaning more towards 10 inches. So, I am jealous of you, brother. I hope everything is well for you in Pennsylvania. Kevin checking in from Chicago. All right, so we got Chicago. Now, I actually didn't say it, but they're in the Nashville area. Chicagoland. Of course, we have New Zealand represented as well, but WPH. Stain and Seal Fort Worth, what is up? It's always good to see friends in the chat. Hey, Joe, love the new studio. The backdrop is on fire. I agree. Like I said, Rewood is the product here. Let me type it in so it's spelled a little bit differently, right? So let me type it in the chat below. It's Rewood is the backdrop. Add that in the chat. So full transparency, they did give me a deal when I was buying this. So, and we did a video on how it went up and my impressions of it. So full transparency, I did not pay full price. I did get a deal, a discount on buying it, but I was super impressed with it. And in all honesty, if I had to pay full price, I would have. When I reached out to them to place the order, it was fully intending to pay full price. And then they were familiar with the channel. So they said, we kind of chatted back and forth and ironed out a deal to where we got a discount and we shot a video. And, but even if that deal hadn't been reached, I really like it as a product. It obviously looks very attractive. So you can see there's going to be some natural boards like what you see here. That one. There's also going to be some painted boards. Again, another natural board. Then a stained board, and that actually looks really nice. So you see kind of a nice mixture of different paints and stains and natural boards. I like it a lot. And it's redwood. It's reclaimed fence pickets, which is incredible. It just made sense once I learned about the product and what it was. I said, what else could you do a backdrop for a fencing channel with, right? It's got to be recycled fence pickets. All right, just speculations from Texas. So we've got Texas and Pennsylvania, Chicago, Nashville, New Zealand. We've got guys from everywhere, guys and gals. I'm sorry, Ashley, guys and gals. Ed and Young wants to know, do I know any good fence companies in the Atlanta, Georgia area? Not personally. I don't know fencing contractors in the Atlanta area. I would recommend. So here's what I usually recommend to folks, because I get this question in my inbox fairly often. Do you do work in insert my area? If not, who would you recommend? If I don't know of a contractor in their market, typically what I say is start local as far as reviews go. I would recommend Better Business Bureau, Facebook, and Google. Kind of compile reviews there. You can also check in with the American Fence Association. So we did a video. That was actually this last Saturday's video, was the AFA Association's benefit to homeowners, and how that industry group, the peer group, helps out homeowners as well. So you could do American Fence Association. My deal with American Fence Association is, the reason I recommend them is it's a peer group. It's an industry group, professional group that really promotes education, ongoing further education. So a contractor that invests in the AFA, there's a good chance they also invest in ongoing education, making sure that they're at the peak of their game for fencing. So check reviews, Better Business Bureau, Google, and Facebook. All three of those, you can't pay to remove your reviews, so any review sticks, sort of thing. And then also check with the AFA to see, kind of counter or cross-reference that list with the AFA. So I don't know where I was going with that thought. Okay, it says, I love installing wood fences. It's the craftsman in me, but in my market, vinyl fence is what we're having to install more often. I hear that a lot. So when I was talking to Sean King, he's kind of in Southern Indiana. That's what their market is primarily vinyl. Not as much wood at all. So it's kind of fun to see, like, regionally what type of products are more popular where. In our market, on our residential end, our business is primarily wood. We do a little bit of chain link, both galvanized and vinyl coated. What we've been doing a lot lately is the ornamental aluminum. We've really been doing quite a bit of it, a little bit of ornamental steel, but more so ornamental aluminum. But yeah, I agree. I love wood fences. It's a nice, natural look. Of course, you can have it pre-stained, or you can stain it after the fact to lock in that look, to keep it looking really nice. But it's a natural product. It has a nice rustic look. I agree, Kevin. I like installing wood fences a lot. Keisha says, thanks, definitely will replace. I was thinking about pouring concrete on top of the post so it will seal the cracks. Bad idea. Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I don't know if that's going to have the result you really want. Pouring concrete on top of it. I absolutely understand where you're coming from. To try to solidify that post, I don't think it's going to accomplish really what you want. Yeah, I would really lean more towards replacing it. Guys, fence guys and gals in the chat, why don't you let Keisha or Keisha know one way or the other, what would you do? And so the question was, it's a split post, or it's a cracked post. It's checking, it has surface splits, and she's concerned about the structural integrity of the post, whether it needs replaced or if it can be repaired. Let me know what you guys would do. Just speculations from West Texas specifically, and the wind here is wild. Would a metal fence be sturdy in the wind? In my mind, I see it catching wind like a sail versus a wood fence where the wind can sift through. Yeah, I understand the question. So, I mean, in all honesty, even a wood fence. So, wood fence is going to have gaps. A wood fence is going to have gaps. Even a cedar fence, all cedar materials, you're still going to have up to a half inch of gap between the pickets. But honestly, though, I don't know that that's enough to really make an impact on the wind load rating of the fence. Even if we started talking about shadow box with pickets alternating on either side of the fence, spaced, one of the supposed benefits of that fence is a higher wind load rating. I haven't seen that. I haven't experienced that. If a neighborhood where high winds had rolled through and privacy fences were knocked down and shadow box fences were spared. I've probably seen just as many shadow box fences, blown down or at least impacted from high winds than I have privacy fence. I think it's going to be the same bag. I really do. Now, I have heard that Texas in general, but specifically West Texas, gets a lot of wind. But as far as wind load ratings, I don't know that the gaps in wood fence would have a meaningful impact to wind load. One guy's opinion. Walter Montpettit is from Ottawa, Canada. How far back from you to the corner behind in your background? You know, let's see. Do we have a measuring tape? I don't think we do. I'm looking around. We did. Here's the thing. I have never really relied on a lot of geometry from school, but in trying to figure out the wall, the corner, the camera placement, we're measuring the walls, we're figuring out exactly where the intersecting points are. We had one here. There is one here. But if I'm guessing that's 6 to 7 feet. We're going to go with that. We're going to say 6 to 8 feet from me to that back corner. It's going to be close. I don't think it's anything less than 6 feet. It might be 9 foot, but I'd say 6 to 8 feet. It's pretty well. It's in the ballpark. Ed and Young, thank you. I appreciate you joining us here in the chat. WPH built a privacy fence about a month or two after building it. The post deteriorated, and we contacted the company we got the post from. They replaced them and paid for our time to fix it. That's incredible. That's great to hear. So here in the States, typically what we see is, so when we're talking about my fence contracting business, we warranty everything that we have control over, which is the installation labor, right? So we do lifetime workmanship warranty. If something fails on the fence because of how we installed it, we'll absolutely make right on it. What we don't cover is the materials, and the warranties vary by supplier. But good on you for having those replaced. So yeah, so it sounds like you contacted the fence company. So maybe they got the material manufacturer involved, or maybe they covered it by themselves. And if they covered it themselves, then good on them for sure. Roger, you're a rock star. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Hey, also, if you guys are watching this and you're not subscribed, if you wouldn't mind subscribing. So when we look at the analytics, something like 97% of those that watch our videos aren't subscribed. So that's a big number. So for every 10 people that are watching the video, 9.7 of them aren't subscribed. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And when you do, hit the notification bell, switch the notifications to all. And I've realized this on the channels that I follow, that if you leave the standard notifications, you seem to get notifications for like 1 out of 4 of the videos. I'm not exactly sure how the algorithm works, but like I said, one guy's experience is typically 1 out of 4 you'll actually get notifications on. But if you switch to all, YouTube will let you know when we have new content available. We typically have content available twice a week. So we have this live stream where I talk to you good folks every Thursday from 3 to 5:30 Central Standard Time. And then also we have a recorded video that comes out Saturday mornings, I believe 9:30, maybe 9:45. Don't quote. Saturday mornings we have recorded videos come out. So yeah. But if you set notifications to all, YouTube will let you know when we have new content available. All right. Just speculation. I think if it's just the one post splitting and the others are fine, it might just be a bad post. I'd lead towards replacing the issue area rather than trying to brace a possible weak area. I agree. Absolutely. And so I should have been a little bit more specific. So it's actually a gate post. So actually, Keisha, I'm sorry if it Keisha or Keisha, is it the hinge post or the latch post? So is it the post that supports all the weight from the gate, or is it simply the post that's holding the latch? That would probably make a difference too on whether we're talking about trying to repair it or replace the post itself. Oh, Candace says she can rotate measure up. That's okay. It's like I said, 6 to 8 feet in that ballpark to the corner. We're not trying to be super specific here. All right, last question before I go is how long do you recommend before staining or painting your fence? Because I've heard mixed answers. Yeah, answers are absolutely all over the place on how long you wait to stain or seal or paint an existing fence. And when I talk to Caleb, that owns Stain and Seal Experts, about how long you wait, it's always percentages. It's hardly ever time related. So it's always, you typically want our number. I like to use 12%. If it's under 12%, if it's less than 12% moisture content, it's ready to stain and seal. Now, there are some water stain and sealants that you can use. You can go above a 12%. We prefer the oil-based stains. 12% is the number we use. And so it can vary. The length of time between installation and staining and sealing is going to vary depending on time of year. So right now we're coming into our spring, so we just got out of winter, where you might wait 2 months in wintertime to get that 12%. But if we were in the middle of summer, it could be 3 to 4 weeks before you got below 12%. I would recommend just using a moisture meter. You can pick them up $25, $30 on Amazon. Really, all you're looking for is a moisture meter or moisture probe. Anything 12% or below, and it's ready to go. But I wouldn't use a hard, fast time, length of time rule of thumb, only because that's really when you get into, you got to wait 6 months. You got to wait a year. And I think where that rule came from is prior to having moisture meters, everyone, it was a best guess as to how long they should wait. And so if anything, you would err on the side of safety, right? You would actually add another month or two to what you think it would take, just in case you got some rain, you got some cloudy days where it wasn't going to dry the wood out. So I think that's where the 6 months to a year thing comes from. But yeah, 12% is what we shoot for. So it could be anywhere from 2 months to 3 or 4 weeks, depending on the climate, how much rain you've gotten recently, etc. I hope I've helped. WBH, thank you for reaching out from New Zealand. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate their help as well. Okay, so it is a hinge post. Yeah, honestly, I would probably go straight to replacement because the gate's going to be heavy. No matter if it's a 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot gate, 6 foot tall, it's going to be a heavy gate. I would probably go to replacement. Surface splits aren't structurally concerning, but if it starts to affect how that gate works, I would just go straight to replacing it rather than try to repair it. My concern would be even after trying to replace it or repair it, even if those didn't work, you'd still be at replacement. Only now you would be at your replacement cost plus the time, money, and effort that went into repairing it or trying to get it to last a little bit longer. I would likely just go straight to replacement. It's okay to spray my fence with bug spray to keep away pests, etc. So it won't hurt it. I don't know that it would have the desired results, though. I would probably go with a wood stain and sealant. So the wood stain and sealant is going to obviously protect it from UV, but it's also going to moisturize the wood to help prevent rot. It's also going to seal water out, so it's not constantly going from wet state to dry state, wet state to dry state, and promoting rot. You could spray it with bug spray, but I don't know that it would have the intended result. I would hate to see you invest money, time, and effort, and still have pests involved. Okay, Keisha, got it. I'm on it. You got it. I agree. That is a great use of emojis, especially here. Love it. All right, guys. Well, as you guys have more questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. We're here for quite a while. So right now it is 3:41 Central Standard Time. We're here till 5:30. So we've got another couple hours to go. We got some more content or time to fill with content. So if you guys have a thought or a question, drop them in the comments below. If you guys are just joining us, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, as Roger reminded us earlier. And let me know you're here by saying hello and let me know where you're from. I like having a mental image of kind of where everyone's at. So far we've got a lot of Midwesterners. We got Texas and Nashville. We've got a Canadian as well, Ottawa, I believe. We've got some East Coasters in the house, Pennsylvania, etc. Nashville's Midwest. I think you'd still declare Nashville Midwest. Atlanta, Keisha's not Keisha. Who else? Someone is here from Atlanta. I'm sorry. All these are kind of blending together. Ed Young is from Atlanta. So we got a little bit of everybody. And WPH was here for a while. I don't know if you're still here, but WPH is here all the way from New Zealand. Incredible. That's the day and age we live in with technology. Is a guy from Southwest Missouri can sit in a room all by himself and talk to a camera, and someone else will be on the other end over in New Zealand watching it. Blows my mind, guys. Just Speculation has a great point. Isn't cedar supposed to keep away bugs from its natural makeup? Speaking of pests, absolutely. So cedar oil, you see cedar used in a lot of applications. We use it in wood because it's naturally preserved. The oils naturally preserve the product, so we don't have to talk about pressure treatment. The pressure treatment tends to lead to warping and twisting and shrinking. So cedar oils, we use cedar as a fence product because it's naturally preserved. just a better looking product as well. But you see cedar used in all sorts of applications, closets. You see a lot in, like I said, a lot in closet linings. We sell a fair amount of cedar pickets to custom home builders that line their closets with it, the aromatic cedar. So it keeps away moths and all other sort of bugs that might infest your closets. I'm not sure exactly what those bugs would be, and they smell better than mothballs for sure. You also see it in like sock closet or sock drawers. I've seen it cedar. What do they call them? Cedar. Dowels isn't the word. Cedar balls. I don't know what the correct word for that is, but you see those marketed towards sock drawers because the aromatic nature maybe keeps your socks smelling nicer. But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, cedar is marketed as a better product because the oils naturally resist rotten insects, but also insects. So Just Speculation had a great point. Yeah, cedar is absolutely keeps bugs away. Keisha is from Virginia, so East Coast is pretty well represented. So that's interesting. So Virginia. So I've actually have a sister-in-law. Nope. Yeah, she is sister-in-law, but I was going to say she's based out, or her family is based out of Virginia Beach. They've actually moved a little bit further south. But yeah, we had every intention of visiting Virginia. They loved Virginia a lot. They went on and on about it. We never did get out there. And life happens. You know what I mean? Little kiddos happen. But welcome from Virginia, Keisha. All right, I'm going to get a little drink. This is not sponsored content. I just got a little thirsty. All right. So let's talk about this for a second. So there will not be an Ask the Expert live next Thursday. So next Thursday, I'll be speaking to a group of power washing contractors in Atlanta. Ed over in Atlanta, I'll be visiting a little bit north of you, about 30 minutes northeast of Atlanta. But I'll be speaking to a group of power washers. Now, if you'll remember, a couple weeks ago, we were in Nashville. I was speaking to actually two groups out there, and we took all the gear with us. And mainly that was because I had some videos to record with Stainless Steel Experts since I was going to be in their backyard at their event. I took the opportunity to take my video and audio gear with me to do some, we did a facility walkthrough. You guys will see that coming up. I did a couple interviews with Caleb talking about the 5 benefits or 5 reasons why you would use oil-based sealant and then 5 reasons why you would use a water-based sealant. I knew I was doing that, so I took all the gear with me. This is going to be a quick trip. It's just 3 days in and out, and so I'm not taking the gear with me. So we won't be doing an Ask the Expert live. I believe I'll be speaking. I need to reach out to Ron, the gentleman that's running the event. I believe I'm speaking in the afternoon anyway. So it would probably overlap the time where we sit and chat for a little bit. So no live next week. I apologize. The week after, let's start looking at a calendar here because I've got an exciting guest coming up April 1st, but I believe there's still one more in between that. Yep. So the 25th of April, I believe I'll be having Caleb back with me. Caleb with Stainless Steel Experts. I love talking with Caleb. We try to talk once a month. Have him on the last Thursday of the month. Talk about what's going on with the stainless steel industry. Of course, right now it's everywhere starting to turn springtime. So you see in the Stainless Steel Facebook groups, it's getting a lot more active there. So I have a feeling Caleb will have quite a bit to talk about. And then April 1st, we're having Tom Reber of the Contractor Fight On. Well, he best known to me as Contractor Fight. He's also one of the partners in Contractor Sales Academy, and he's got a TV show. He's got a show. I believe it's HGTV. He's a host of a show, and we'll see if he can talk about that show a little bit about what to expect. And but the main reason I want to have Tom on is we seem to have a conversation almost every time we do one of these lives on talking about gross profit versus net profit, and then gross profit versus markup. And the difference in the 3 of those terms and why they're not necessarily, none of them are the same. None of them are synonymous. So markup is different than gross profit. Markup is different than margin. And a lot of those terms can get confusing for newer contractors. I'll be honest, they're confusing to me until Tom really sat down and kind of drilled into me what the differences are and what, in my mind, what makes sense to me is like what leads to the next thing. Where do you start? Then what's the next course? And then where do you end up? Right. So he's going to walk through markup, margin, gross profit, net profit with us. And I'll tell you what, if you guys aren't familiar with Tom Reber, you got to try to follow his content. So he's got a ton of content on YouTube. This guy is fired up. He's passionate about bringing respect back to the trades. And I mean, obviously that is an incredibly noble pursuit. And Tom is he's a passionate guy in general. If you have ever met him, you know that's the truth. But we're having him on the first. I'm incredibly excited about it. Mule Fence, welcome back. Hey, man, I've started my own fencing company in Reno, Nevada. Can you give me some good advice on growing my company? I have 2 employees now, and I'm looking to have 8 by the end of the year. That's incredible. So congratulations on starting your business. Let's learn a little bit about Mule Fence if you want to. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the business and where you started? Like, what direction are you coming from? The most common direction is you see guys come from the craftsman side. So they generally started working for a fence company, kind of came up through that company skill-wise, and then decided to go out on their own, kind of hang their own shingle, so to speak. And if that's the case, that's probably the most common path into owning a fence company is starting out as a craftsman. And if that's the case, we can have a conversation about business practices, about running the business, that sort of thing. Let me know where you've come from and kind of where you're wanting to go. So you've got 2 employees now. You obviously have a clear roadmap. You want to get to 8 employees. So I like that you're figuring it out now before expanding and then trying to figure it out. Right. And that's a big jump from 2 employees to 2 employees is probably 1 crew. If it's you plus 2, then you're probably the craftsman that also runs the business. So you probably get those guys started and then maybe go run sales appointments, consultations. Probably do the business aspect in the evenings. I think we're all kind of familiar with how that process goes. We could certainly speak to that. So tell us a little bit more about you, Mule Fence, and then we'll go from there. Sean King, Mr. Fence is in the house with Cannon. I love it. What is up, Sean and Cannon? Can I tell you what? So I was going to say, I'll tell you what, be prepared for just the fire hose of information that is Sean King. But you already know what to expect. So Cannon was there in Nashville when I spoke to Sean King's group at the Mr. Fence Academy. And I'll tell you what, guys, I was there for 1 day of the academy. So the great thing was before and after speaking, I got to be a fly on the wall and sit and listen to the speakers, interact a little bit. And just that 1 day just left my head just wall with all the information just leaking out of my ears. I can't imagine what it was like to be there for the entire thing. But Cannon, I like where your business is going. And, we talk on Facebook. Cannon's a young man that has a plan, and I'm certainly excited to see where it goes. Just speculation, is there any advantage in structure or price in building a horizontal fence versus a vertical? Price is more expensive. So we prefer to build wood fence with Postmaster steel post, which, well, I guess you could build them with pickets. You could split 2x4s and then bolt those to the Postmasters, nail pickets to those. Bit of a cumbersome process. We prefer to build them with 2x4s and 2x6s, mixed and matched. I do kind of provide some texture and a little bit interesting of a look. It's more expensive. It just really is. I don't know that there. Well, I guess if you did a whole entire fence out of 2x4s and 2x6s, it probably would be structurally stronger. I don't have any sort of data to say how much more structurally sound that fence would be, though. Honestly, if you're making the decision from horizontal to vertical privacy fence, I think it's aesthetics, it's personal taste. We're starting to see more and more horizontal fences come into the market. I think people are looking for an alternative to a privacy fence simply because they want their fence to look unique and look different. You're starting to see them more and more, which is going to take the uniqueness away from them quite a bit. We see this in other styles, so we do primarily privacy and shadow box. We do a little bit of board on board, not a ton. Back in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of what was called here locally basket weave. So they were horizontal pickets, but rather than sit one above the other, one would be bowed in and one would be bowed out with a stave in the middle. So they would look basket weaved. It was an interesting look. It was murder to try to repair those fences, though. I mean, if you had to replace a picket, you almost had to just disassemble the entire section and then rebuild it. Always a nightmare. So I have a feeling now horizontal fences would be easier to maintain and repair. I almost think they're going to go the way of basket weave, where it's an interesting, novel idea. But is it going to stick around? If we're speculating, if it's just speculation, I'd speculate probably not going to stick around. Kenny Dugan, what is up? So the Stain Man, Kenny Dugan. So Kenny and I both spoke at Caleb's event in Nashville, Stain and Steel Experts. I feel smarter just by being around Kenny. He's an incredibly intelligent guy. Only here for a short bit. Got softball tonight. I love that a lot. There are some chemicals you can use to deter insects, boric acid, borax, etc., but there's a certain way to put it on. So, Kenny, that is interesting. So, again, being just in the general proximity of Kenny, we all become smarter. So, I know. So, when dealing with insects around houses, we've used borax in the past. Interesting to hear that you can apply it to fences. Maybe we need to have Kenny on. Maybe we need to have Kenny on as a guest to talk to us about alternatives to insect deterrents. Natural. So that's what I like about borax is it's a natural product. Boric acid as well. Yeah, let's do that. So Kenny, I'll reach out to you privately. I'd like to have you on. If nothing else, like I said, I become smarter just by being in your proximity. So if I could have you on for an interview, I would certainly walk away with a boat full of knowledge. I'm sure my viewers would too. This is a very interesting subject, and I'd like to pick your brain on this. So if you're up for it, I should have read his next comment. I'll go into depth when I have more time. I would love that a lot, Kenny. So if we could schedule a time, I'll reach out to you privately. I'd like to schedule a time to have you on. This is a really interesting subject, and it's a subject that I don't know that I've heard. I don't know that I've heard really anyone speak on the subject of, natural insect deterrent remedies and solutions. Good luck with softball tonight. Sean King and Cannon are heading to a job site right now. That's incredible. So let's see. So it's probably 4:55. Well, it depends. I think. Nope. Nashville Central Time. So currently 4:00. All right. Very good. Tyler Pyle says, Hey man, quick lifespan question. I was wondering the approximate lifespan of a cedar fence and a pressure treated spruce fence. Thanks. So I don't have in-depth real world experience with pressure treated spruce. We deal in pressure treated pine, which are probably potato. Now I hesitate before I say that because I know the comments will come alive talking about the differences between just the different pressure treated materials available. Cedar will, in my experience, outlive pine or pressure treated. Well, I don't know if I want to say pressure treated anything, but pressure treated pine, pressure treated spruce, cedar will outlive a pressure treated product. The reason being the pressure treatment is really trying to emulate the preservative qualities of the cedar oils that you find naturally occurring in cedar products. It's trying to deter insects. It's trying to prevent and preserve against rot, which cedar oil does naturally. So my opinion is anything that you can do naturally will be a better solution than something that you try to do artificially. So in our market, when we're talking, again, pressure treated pine, unfortunately, so pressure treatment, this could be like a whole conversation on itself about the pressure treatments that are available in the market today versus what was available 20 years ago. So we used to have access to CCA, which was a great treatment. There were studies done, and one of the studies conducted, the results were that, and it was in regards to pressure treated pine used in like park benches, picnic tables, that sort of thing. But the report found that if a child licked their hand, ran it across the table, licked their hand again for like 20 times a day, so many days in a row, so many years in a row, they would have an increased chance of developing cancer. So CCA left the market, and we can debate rightfully so or not, but I understand the idea is to make a safer product. That's noble. So the replacements that are in the market today, ACQ, MCQ, and MCA, just aren't of the same quality that CCA was. And even in its day, CCA wasn't of the same caliber or quality that cedar was. It was a better solution, but it still wasn't cedar. Right now, so we're talking about, so in our market, it's typically ACQ and MCQ. MCA is available in other markets. We just don't see it as much in our market. Typically, you see 8 to 10 years as a lifespan before you start seeing rot presented in posts. And that's an average. So some posts, if it's in an incredibly dry environment where maybe it's shaded from the weather, specifically rain, where it's not wet state to dry state, wet state to dry state, You can probably get prolonged life out of it. On the flip side of that coin, if it's in a wet, marshy area where it's constantly wet, dry, you're going to get less life out of it. 8 to 10 years seems to be a pretty good average. Now, we've been replacing posts installed, treated pine posts that are installed 5 or 6 years ago. So when I say 8 to 10, like I said, that's an average, but we're starting to see even that lifespan pull back a little bit more than that. When we're talking about cedar products, cedar's going to last longer. It's a higher quality product. And as I said in the beginning, the treatment is trying to emulate, trying to copy and artificially mimic cedar oils. Again, anything you can do naturally is a better solution than anything man-made artificially, in my opinion. I hope I answered your question, Tyler. Appreciate it. It was a great question. Well, Kenny, you also look better when you're around me. Debatable. All right. Debatable. And listen, you and I have gotten into this before about we're both the same mind where like neither one of us takes like a claim very well. Right. And so I get what you're doing here. You're trying to give me compliments, but I don't take compliments. So it's kind of self-depreciate. No, not depreciation, deprecation. Anyway, always smarter in your presence. I'm going to stick by that. What's up, Mike? Just barely started watching your videos. Crazy info. Had 2 quick questions. We are trying to sell our house ASAP. Is wood worth the extra cost over chain link? Second, does 811 mark all possible objects? So let's work backwards. 811 does not mark all possible objects. They mark all public utilities. Now, I'm gonna put an asterisk, a caveat in here in the state of Missouri. That's where my experience is. That's where we operate, is Southwest Missouri. But I have to think that in other states it's the same as here in Missouri. That way we call it Missouri One Call. 811. So for those watching, so 811 is your utility locators. So we call it Missouri One Call. It's also, I think it's Texas Dig. I think every state has their version of this, right? But 811 always gets to your state's version of this. I believe also in Canada, 811 is the public utility locator. But that's all they mark is public utilities. So gas, water, sewer, electric, communications. I think I hit them all. They don't mark private utilities. Private utilities, namely being irrigation. That's the number one private utility we find is irrigation. They also don't mark septic systems, which are private, well water, which is also private. They also don't mark the private side of your utilities. So of your gas, water, sewer, electric. Where we find this a lot is water. Here in our part of Southwest Missouri, the water meter sits at the road. So that utility is public up to that meter, and it's private after that meter. So they'll mark the water utility all the way to the meter, but from the meter near the road to the house still remains unmarked because that's a private utility. 811 does not mark all possible objects. They mark all public utilities. So you'll still want to have an idea where any of the private utilities might be. And like I said, the number one private utility we find with our augers and diggers is irrigation. Trying to sell our house ASAP. Is wood worth the extra cost over chain link? I certainly think so as a fencing contractor. Prices right now are crazy in general. Depending on, so chain link has a couple conversations, whether we're talking about galvanized chain link or color-coded chain link. Color-coded chain link is getting really crazy. You have steel increases pretty much across the board, but then vinyl coated is also, the vinyl and the vinyl coating is also a petroleum-based product. So you have your steel increases. You also have your petroleum market increases, i.e. check out your gas pumps versus a month ago, and you start seeing a lot of difference in the gas market. So that correlates into the vinyl coated market as well. So wood isn't that much of an upgrade, depending on what type of wood. Now, we went through wood increases this time. Well, maybe not this time last year, mid to late 2020. It's normalizing somewhat. We're able to get cedar materials again. There for a little while is hit or miss on whether you could get truckload deliveries of, say, cedar pickets. We're able to schedule those pretty regularly now. Price is up. And I mean, the price is up 80 to 90 cents a board, but it's regularly available. So I say all that to say the price increase might not be that crazy between chain link and privacy. I think it's a good investment, mainly because privacy. When we're talking to customers of privacy fences, that's what they're wanting. They're concerned that when the kids play in the backyard, uh, is it a private environment? Is it a safe environment? Can they lock the gates and know that no one can just hop the fence easily? If you're investing in a fence, I think you would get your money out. You would get more of your money back with a wood fence versus a chain link fence. Fence guys in the chat, let me know what your thoughts are on is it worth the extra cost to upgrade to wood over chain link? All right, Mule Fence is telling us a little bit about his business. 27 years old. It's the only trade I've ever been in. I was superintendent for a large government fencing company. I started off as a labor worker. Common. This is probably the most common career path into fence company ownership. I think I said that right. It's the most common story you hear in fencing contractors. Started with now. I like that you have experience as a superintendent for a large government fencing contract. So you've probably seen the business side of this company, right? The policies and procedures. I think those are incredibly important. Just having structure to your business. That's one of the things that Sean was really hammering home during the Mr. Fence Academy is having process, structure, process, repeatable transactions, right? Repeatable processes. Having a system to the madness it makes all the difference in the world. Let me scroll back up to see your original question. So now knowing a little bit more about it, you said, can you give me some good advice on growing my company? So if we're talking about advertising, so one thing I'm passionate about is start creating video content. I mean, this channel is a great example of that, right? So right now, like I said, I'm in a room by myself talking to a camera, having a conversation with folks from across the United States, into Canada, across the pond to New Zealand. Video lets you start creating relationships at scale. And what I mean is, so we started using video in our fencing business, gosh, probably 8 or 9 years ago, thereabouts. It might have been longer than that, to be honest. But anyway, we started using video quite a while ago. And the video is pretty straightforward. And so when I was talking to these groups in Nashville, really the point I was trying to make is start creating video content today because you can start meeting your clients on their schedule. And when I'm talking about making video content, the next question is, well, what should I do? Like, what content should I make? And the first 5 videos, I believe the foundational videos you should make about your business are the who, the what, the when, the where, the why of you and your company. You don't need a lot of fancy gear. You don't need a camera and lights and audio equipment. Literally, we started with our phone. And to this day, when we're talking about the service business with my fencing company, the phone still remains one of our key pieces of video equipment because I firmly believe that a potential client watching a video that was created on a phone is going to relate more with that content more than if I were to make video seated in this studio to this camera with this equipment, because it's a higher production value. And clients absolutely understand that this costs money. And so what I believe is there's that understanding that if it costs money to produce this content, then I'm going to be one of the people paying for it. I really think that's a thing. If you watch a BMW commercial, you absolutely understand that commercial is intended to influence you to buy a BMW. They're not telling you about the community. They're not telling you about any of the social activities that they're involved in. They're trying to influence you to buy one of their cars. I firmly believe by using a phone and having it feel more raw, more real, that it has a marked improvement on the relatability of you and your business. So, in talking about the videos, the who, what, when, where, why of your business, the who is literally, hey guys, it's Joe with Ozark Fence, and I want to tell you a little bit about Ozark Fence. We're a family-owned and operated fence company. We've been building fence since my granddad started in 1955. We have an incredible amount of experience. We're a pillar in the community. If you'd like a fence installed, I'd love to talk to you about my my family-owned fence company. Something to that effect. Who are you? Who is Ozark Fence? Now, here's the reason why it's important for you to do this is you become the figurehead of your business. You're the one out there meeting with the clients. You should be the one in the video. And the example I use is Nike paid Michael Jordan millions upon millions upon millions of dollars because Nike didn't have a public facing spokesperson. There wasn't a John Nike of Nike shoes. There was Nike shoes. It was a business. And what Nike figured out was people don't form relationships with faceless companies. They form relationships with other people. And so by branding themselves with Michael Jordan, now all of a sudden people are able to form a relationship with Michael Jordan, whether through his basketball career or otherwise. They form a relationship with him. And so when he said, hey guys, I really like these Nike shoes, okay, that influenced them to take an interest in Nike shoes. Well, I can't hire Michael Jordan, but I'm already on the payroll. I can hire me so I can create videos for my business. The story I tell all the time, if you guys have heard this, you guys have heard this a million times. If you guys know me, you've heard this a million times, is that what solidified this in my mind, what really struck home to me, we were creating a lot of these videos about who is Ozark Fence, what do we do, where do we do it, when do we do it, all these videos about us. And we also did videos about our products. Hey, so Postmaster Steel products, we were one of the first companies in our market to offer them in a dedicated way. Everyone had offered them in the past. Oh, we also have this other novel idea. It's a steel post. It's a purpose-built post, but no one did it in a dedicated way. So we did a video saying, hey, this is Joe with Ozark Fence. No matter who builds your fence, if you're looking for quality in a fence that will last a lifetime, you should really look at these Postmaster Steel posts. They're a quality investment for the lifespan of your fence, for a lifetime of your fence. Whether it's Ozark Fence or anyone else, you should really request these. Because it was a product that I felt passionate about. And I believed that if the customer bought a fence installed with these Postmaster posts, regardless of who built it, it elevated the industry, because that means that fence isn't going to be susceptible to warping or twisting, rotting at the base, etc. It's going to be a better built fence, and therefore it's going to improve our industry. It's going to further our industry. So we did the video, and I was honest about it didn't. Now listen, did I prefer that they had Ozark Fence build their fence? Of course, but I believe that it is a better product, period. So we shot the video, and what solidified in my mind is I went and knocked on this lady's door. Obviously this is pre-pandemic when we were actually knocking on doors. And she had scheduled us to come out for an appointment, but this is back when we did in-person consultations as a first step. So I knocked on the door. She opens the door and she says, well, before I can say, hey, my name's Joe and I'm with Ozark Fence, she said, wait, you're the guy from Facebook. You're the guy that's telling me all about Ozark Fence. It's you. So, well, yeah. And I'd heard this a couple times before. So I had a little gig in my head. So he said, well, of course it's me. I said, I'm too tight to hire someone to do these videos. And if I did, they wouldn't look like me. And we kind of had a nice chuckle and laugh about it. And we went around to the backyard. And as I'm measuring the yard, and I said, Miss Customer, we do things a little bit differently. We actually use steel posts instead of a wood post. And as I take a breath, she says, that's right. That's a video where you are telling me that they won't warp and twist and they're not going to fall down because of rot. Absolutely. Hit the nail on the head. So she knew me and my business before I even rang her doorbell. Before she opened her door and met me, she knew me. She also knew what product I was there to talk to her about. She knew all about these steel posts. That's exactly what she wanted. My job at that point was simply to measure the yard, confirm the measurements, and give her a price. I didn't need to convince her about who I was or why it was important to do business with my family-owned business. I didn't have to talk to her about the benefits of this material that I was trying to trying to sell her. It was simply, here's who I am. She already pre-sold herself. So that solidified in my mind how important video is. So to your question, that's a really long-winded answer, but to your question, ways to improve your business, start shooting video today about who is Mule Fence, the who, what, when, where, why of Mule Fence, and specifically your role in Mule Fence, what you do. So we're doing that with Ozark Fence. That's on our content creation plan. Now that we have the studio space where we can do this, even if it's dumping rain outside currently, the who, the what, the when, where, the why of Ozark Fence, and then the who, the what, when, where, why of each of our team members, so that our customers and clients can start forming relationships with our team members before they even step on site. And for a lot of our clients, they never meet the first people they interact with. So whether it's Candace or Stephanie that they talk to first on the phone, they never physically meet them. It would be really neat, though, if they could watch a video on here's the who, what, when, where, why of Candace, so they can feel like they know her, even though they've only ever talked to her on the phone. I think that'd be incredibly impactful. Hope that makes sense, Mule Fence. If you got any more questions, let me know. I'm perfectly happy to expand on that. Tyler, you're very welcome. I appreciate you contributing to the channel by asking a question. Guys, if you're just joining us, either in the live video or recorded video, let me know you're here by dropping a comment below. Let me know you're here so I can say hi to you. Also, let me know where you're from. I like having a mental picture of where everybody's from. Colin, what is up? Hello. How are you, sir? Roger says, I worked at a fence company that pressure treated white cedar for their doweled rail gates. Yeah, so white cedar, now this is getting a little bit past my expertise, but white cedar doesn't have the same cedar oil preservatives that like a Western red cedar would. So you see white cedar pressure treated more because the oils simply aren't as effective. So that's a good point, Roger, that not all cedars created equal also. Joe Exotic. Will you ever join the Olympic fencing team? Probably not. I would say I would be a pretty poor performer in the sport of fencing. So that was kind of, we kicked around that content idea for a little bit. Me learning the sport of fencing. I don't know. So that's still up in the air. Everyone thinks it would be hilarious. I think it would be me getting jabbed and poked with a sword constantly. And that doesn't sound as enjoyable to me as doing other things. But never say never, I suppose. Travis Carpenter, welcome back. Dahlgren, Virginia. Dahlgren, I hope that I said that correctly. Checking in, welcome. Just a part-time Sparky, but I love your upfront. Who you are is what you get with your company. Absolutely, Travis. I mean, that's the thing is we try to be as transparent as possible about who we are and what we do and why we do it. Here's the thing. You can either be completely upfront and transparent, or your clients can find out about you later on, whether through interaction with you and your team members or whether they do research online. I just rather be the first person to talk about me and my company, save them some trouble from having to go through. And I encourage them. I hope that they do research on their own to realize that it's not just me talking about me and my team members, that it actually happens to be based in reality and to be true. But yeah, honesty is always the best policy. I appreciate your comment. Jacob Bell did his first video last week. Congratulations. I am always so incredibly impressed when someone takes that step to create their first video. That's a big step. It is a huge step to say, you know what? It feels totally natural for me to look at my phone and speak to it and then put that content out into the world for people to consume it. It's a big step. And I commend you, Jacob. There's some people feel more comfortable with it than others. I'll be honest with you. I've never felt super comfortable making this content. This doesn't come naturally where I say, you know what I'd really like to do today? I'd like to sit in an empty room, a dark room, and turn big spotlights on and talk to a camera, for 2.5 hours on end. And that doesn't come naturally, but it's just like working out. It's just like, if I wanted to run a marathon tomorrow, I wouldn't run a marathon tomorrow. If I wanted to run a marathon, I wouldn't start by running a marathon tomorrow. I think that's how that saying goes. It's a lot of smaller jogs that lead up to a marathon. So you don't start creating, boatloads of content tomorrow. You start with a video and you get comfortable with that. And maybe you want to redo the video. That's fine. But here's one thing I would say. One tip as far as video creation is, because I second guessed myself right when I said you might want to redo the video. So that, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, your experience may vary. For me, I constantly found myself stopping the video and starting over when I said or ah or misspoke. And I still do it to a certain extent today, but it would take me forever to record these videos because it was never quite good enough. It was never quite up to my personal standards of where I wanted it to be, right? And that was just a limiting factor for me. is it would take forever to make these videos because I would just have all of these different takes. And then I would have to stop and edit and wade through. So one thing I started doing, the secret that worked for me was live video. I started doing Facebook Lives. One, Facebook as a platform and YouTube as a platform like to promote live content because it is more interactive, right? And this live, broadcast is a perfect example because I'm interacting with you guys live in the comments, in the chat. And YouTube knows that that's incredibly powerful. So the platforms reward it, which is a plus. They will show it to more people, which is what you want. But also, you don't have the opportunity to stop it and start recording again when you say a word incorrectly or what you feel is like maybe in a wrong way, or when you say or ah, or you take a breath or whatever reason you would stop and restart that thought. You don't have the opportunity to do it in a live video. You just don't. So when I started doing videos live, it really helped my production or the amount of content I could produce because I wasn't stopping it every 30 seconds to try to restart that thought. You can still record it. You can still record live content and then edit it, right? So you can still help your content creation, and then you could re-upload it as a recorded video. You could splice it and edit it and cut out certain segments, certain thoughts, maybe. You can still have a higher production quality video, but you just get it done. So where was I? I was at Vid Summit last year, and someone said something. It was just a thought. Someone said this. It was, done is better than perfect. And that resonated with me because I had been spending a lot of time working on perfecting my product because I was just driven to have a really fine, polished product. And perfection is an antithesis of efficiency. Is that right? Yeah. So if you spend all your time trying to get to perfect, you really, really decrease the amount of content you can put out. If you can get it to 80%, if you can get it to 80%, you publish it, you push it, and you move on. Because that last 20%, the time you spend trying to get it closer to 100%, is time you could be spending doing an entirely different video, right? So live video would be the key. I don't even know where I was going with that rabbit hole, but I was congratulating Jacob on his first video. Jacob, congratulations. Jacob says, it actually did feel pretty natural. I was much more comfortable than I expected. Then, sir, I see great things in your future. If you can be comfortable on camera, like that is huge because people would probably relate with that a little bit more, right? If you're natural, because also if you're natural, if you feel more comfortable on camera, then you'll produce more content. So bravo, Jacob. All right. Jacob did it on Facebook Live. Doing a live also didn't give me the opportunity not to post it. Yeah. So, great point is that once you're going live, you don't have the opportunity to say, I didn't like that one. I'm just delete or archive. I'm just going to pretend like that one didn't happen and I'll do another one tomorrow. Live does not give you that option. It's there and people are watching it. Great point, Jacob. I like it a lot. Sandy would like to know, what's your thoughts on the best way to have a removable 4x4 post on a vinyl fence? This would allow to take out to fence a fence section for a wide opening. So we don't do a lot of vinyl. So I'll preface this by saying I'm not a vinyl fencing expert. We might do one or two vinyl fences a year. We don't do many of them at all. I was going to say you could sleeve it with a 4x4 wood, but that wouldn't work for your rails. Honestly, Sandy, I don't know. I don't know a great solution for a removable post. If Sean, if you're watching, you and Ken, if you guys are watching, Sean installs a lot of vinyl fence. He is very proficient. He's a vinyl fencing expert, I would say. So Sean, if you're still watching, why don't you weigh in the chat on what you would do for a removable post? Because I understand the idea. The idea is, if these are 8-foot wide sections, if you have a removable post, then you have a 16-foot opening. I absolutely understand exactly what we're talking about. I just don't know the best way of making sure that post is stable and sturdy when it is supposed to be a post, when it's supposed to be a fence. So, Sean, if you're watching, I'd surely appreciate your input there. 90-10 rule. Yeah, absolutely. 90-10, 80-20. I probably am. I probably said 80-20, but it probably should be the 90-10. I don't know. Basically that, whatever that last percentage is not worth the time. So 80-20 is always the way I heard it, but 90-10 can apply too. And you can use that rule in a variety of things in your life, right? When I'm looking at handing off a task, I don't know, like an admin task or something like that, if I can find someone to do it at 80% efficiency, it's absolutely worth handing off, because that last 20% to get it to my 100% isn't worth my time. If I can have someone do it at 80%, then it's absolutely worth handing off. Now, one thing I found is a lot of people start at 80% and then they start exceeding your 100%, right? Because they have a different set of eyes. They have a different perspective on a given problem. So you could hand it off at 80% of proficiency and then find out that they're actually performing it at 120% proficiency as time goes on. I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule, or as Sandy said, the 90-10 rule. So, guys, if you're just joining us, drop a comment in the comments below. Let us know you're here, whether it's live or on the recording. I'd love to say hi to you, and I'd love to answer your questions. Drop a question or comment in the comments below. And we're an hour and 20 minutes into this. It is, time check is 4:24, 4:30 Central. We got another hour to go. I started this last week. I'm going to be fairly observant of the 5:30 end time. That way it allows me to get home to the kiddos. They haven't seen me very much this week. Tuesday night, so I'm on the board for our homeowners association. So Tuesday night was an HOA meeting. Last night, I'm also in a group called Sertoma, Springfield Sertoma. Sertoma stands for Service to Mankind. It's my particular group is a group of guys. You got guys groups and girls groups. My guys, all the guys really, all the groups. Their mission is to help children-related charities, right, or children-related efforts. So our particular group, my men's group, Boys and Girls Club is probably our biggest help, or the group that we help the most is probably a better way of saying that. We also help, Diaper Bank in the Ozarks. We help all sorts of children's charities. Anyway, I serve on the board of directors for that as well. Research and design, or research and development. It's R&D. I think it's research and development. I'm a chairman for research and development on that. So anyway, I say all this to say my kids haven't seen me that much this week. So when I say 5:30 in time, I mean as close to 5:30 as possible. Now, if we get on a roll and it's 5:35, all right. But I believe it was Roger. I'm almost 100% sure on this. Roger was the one last week to say, "Hey, Joe, it is 5:30 and you need to get home to your family." And Roger, I appreciate that a lot. If it wasn't Roger, I'm almost 100% Roger. But if it wasn't, and you're listening, thank you. I'm pretty sure it was Roger. Oh, here we go. Colin's got the answer. So in regards to a removable vinyl post set as normal with aluminum H stiffener sleeved inside the post. Vinyl post cut at ground, attached to stiffener, allowing it to slide out. So you probably attach it with a self-tapping screw or self-drilling screw, depending on what region you'll call it a different thing. Colin, thank you. Appreciate it. Colin's like, what would you say? So he's one of Sean's sons. So, Mr. Fence, I almost said Mr. Fence Jr., but Colin's a full-grown man. So calling him a junior probably isn't accurate. Yeah. Colin, thank you. I appreciate you. Mule fence weighs in. You can set metal sleeves in the ground that a 4x4 vinyls can go into. That way you still have the strength of the full vinyl post. Yeah, so that's the other alternative. So Colin's suggestion is an interior, an H-brace, an aluminum H-brace stiffener. Mule fence, they come from the opposite perspective so you'd use a slightly larger metal sleeve in the ground that a 4x4 can slide into. Both of those, I think, are great solutions. Well, see, junior fence. Okay, I get it. But here's the thing, Colin. Like I said, you're a full-grown man. So I didn't want to say junior fence and cause offense. Yeah. So that's why I almost said Mr. Fence Jr. Junior Fence, but that's why I didn't. So, but you said it, not me. Okay. Agrees, Sandy. Thank you, Colin. Part of the issue with that method is we might need the metal H to also be removed to the vehicle's capacity. They could. They absolutely can. So the H brace could be removed as well. You could attach the metal H brace, the aluminum H brace, to the part of the post that you're removing. I think that's was Colin's point, is you could attach it with self-drilling screws or self-tappers, depending on what you call it in your region, and not attach it to the part of the post set in the ground. So that when you remove that vinyl post, you're also removing the H brace or the H stiffener. Colin, let me know if that's what you meant. Maybe I might be misunderstanding that as well, but that's kind of, when I thought that through real quick, that's the way I thought of it. But yeah. That way, like I said, once you pull the post, you pull the H stiffener with you. But also, Mule Fence's solution works as well, to where you just have a slightly larger. So you would have a square steel post that has an inside measurement of whatever the outside measurement of your vinyl post is. So if your vinyl post is 4 inches by 4 inches, which they typically aren't, they're typically a little bit off. You would have the steel post have an inside measurement of 4 by 4, or it might be, you might have a little give in that, just so that you can take it in and put it out. You can take it out and put it in a little bit easier. But yeah. All right, guys. If you guys have any more comments or questions, please drop it. Sandy, I appreciate your question. I appreciate you dropping in a question. It helps this broadcast go by a little bit quicker. Now, also, it helps us, both myself and those of us in the chat, help the community a little bit more. Now, obviously, that's why we do this, right? That's why I join in, and that's why a lot of these guys join in, is to try to be as helpful as possible for others facing fence-related questions and dilemmas. So, like I said, if you're joining in, drop a comment below. Also, as Roger reminded us earlier, hit the thumbs up button. It always means a lot. It lets lets YouTube know that this particular broadcast is helpful and benefits people, and they might show it to more people, which is always nice. Also, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I said earlier that the statistics in our analytics say that 97% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed. So for every 10 people, 9.7 of them aren't subscribed. And I think you should subscribe, but please consider. I don't want to say that you should or you shouldn't. I just ask that you consider subscribing. If you do decide that subscribing is right for you, hit the notification bell and switch your notifications to all. That way YouTube lets you know when every video comes out. In my personal experience, just in following channels out there in YouTube land, I found that if I leave my notifications to just like the standard default, it typically only notifies me once out of every 4 or 5 videos. But if you set the notifications to all, then Facebook or YouTube lets you know each and every time we have new content available. So we put out content twice a week. We do a live video every Thursday, which is what you're watching right now, unless you're watching on a day that isn't Thursday and it's recorded content. But we put up pre-recorded content every Saturday as well, Saturday morning. So 2 pieces of content a week. You will get 2 notifications from me a week. And that's not so bad. So, yeah. I might need to tape these things up. That might look like a product endorsement. They probably, do you think they do the labeling like that on purpose so that when you're drinking it on camera, you have to see the, I'm absolutely sure that's exactly what they do. Let me see. Yeah, the other can is exactly the same way. Close. I think they do that on purpose. So if you're drinking it on camera, you have to see the branding. So maybe we'll get orange duct tape and put orange duct tape over the branding. I mean, you guys will still know what it is, so that probably defeats the purpose. But maybe. Or maybe they just sponsor the channel. That's an option as well. Well, actually, they can't sponsor the live because Stainless Steel Experts is our live broadcast sponsor. You know, if you guys want to find out more information about Stainless Steel Experts, I have a link in the description below. I really appreciate those guys. So Stainless Steel Experts is our first sponsor. And I appreciate those guys a lot. Not only because they're the sponsor, but because Caleb and Ashley, I feel like they're friends. I started out just buying their stain and then started following. Actually, I bought their stain because I followed Caleb's content, his video content on Facebook. And then the more I talked to him, the more I chatted with him, I realized we're much the same person. We have a lot of the same views and opinions. And then as soon as I met Ashley, I realized she's the same person too. So anyway, I value the friendship. I appreciate it. So Caleb was actually the one that approached me. It was like, hey, what does it look like to sponsor the Joe Everest channel? And so we kind of had a conversation about that, what that looked like. And then he's like, yep, sounds good. I'm willing to take a chance on you and sponsor your content. So that means a lot. If you guys are interested in learning more about Stand Still Experts, there's a link below. It just takes you to their channel. I mean, it's not like an affiliate link. I don't get paid off clicks on that link or anything like that, but it's just an easy way for you to find their content. And if you know Caleb or Ashley, tell them thank you for me. All right. So Colin was saying post will be flush at ground level, at ground above part of the post would slide out attached to the H stiffer. Okay. Yep. That's how we've been doing removable section for years. That makes sense. And that's how I had it pictured. But sometimes the way I have things pictured and the way things make sense to me don't actually make sense. So I appreciate you confirming that it actually makes real sense. Sandy, thank you. She's been enjoying the reaction video. So as you guys probably have seen, we've been doing a lot of reaction videos, and that's because the reaction videos are doing very well on the channel. Yeah, so I'm going to cover this in a second. I want to get to these comments. So, all right, time's up, Travis. Family Thursday. Have fun with your family. I appreciate you joining us. It means a lot to me that you took time out of your day to listen to a guy talk about fence. Appreciate you a lot. Jacob says, are you guys experiencing a steel shortage yet? So, yes, we're experiencing it now. We're not experiencing it in the same way that we experienced it in pressure-treated pine. And pressure-treated pine, it first presented with a price increase and then presented with just unavailability of product. Is that the word? Unavailability? A lack of availability of the product. We just couldn't buy it no matter what. So we went from being able to buy a number one, and in my market, these were our prices. A number one pressure treated pine 4x4x8 post was roughly $850 to $875 a post. Then they went up to close. Well, no, then number one disappeared altogether. And then we started getting number two, which not nearly the quality of number one, but number two is the only thing available. But it was upwards of $20 a post, which wildly unrealistic for the quality of the product. Now number one still isn't available. Number two is available at roughly $12.50 to $13 a post. So that's how pressure treated pine presented itself, the shortage. Now steel, we've only seen price increases. We haven't seen a general like unavailability or lack of availability of the product itself. We can still get chain link. We can still get steel post. We can still get Postmaster steel post. But prices are up. So what I'm hoping is we don't get into limited or no availability of the product. I mean, that's obviously how we make our livelihood, right? That the availability of product is a lifeblood of our company. So yeah. Are we experiencing it? Yeah, we're seeing price increases. Actually, Master Halco, which is the manufacturer of the Postmaster Post, sent out another email this morning that said to expect more increases. And I'd have to go back and reread it, but the gist of it is they are limiting the availability of their products to their core selection, but they didn't really explain what their core selection was. So that's kind of interesting, and maybe that means that varies region to region on what their core items are. But yeah, so Master Halco is limiting availability to the core items. So hopefully we don't see it go full blown into 4 foot, 11.5 gauge chain link's not available. And that's something on the chain link side that we use a lot of, or 6 foot 11 and 9 gauge, or two sizes that we use a ton of. Hopefully now the prices are up, which simply means the price of fence goes up. But as long as they're available, we're still in good shape. So answer your question, yes, we are starting to experience a steel shortage. Also an aluminum shortage. Metal in general, we're starting to see. Walter says, while you were talking stainless sealer, I was thinking to Caleb. Talking to Caleb about buying 1,000 post savers. So that's what this studio is missing. Caleb sent me with a post saver sleeve. Trying to think if I was a post saver sleeve, where would I be? I think it would be down in my truck. I think that's where it is. It's either down in my truck or it's at my house from where I unpacked the luggage. I don't think it made it with me in my studio gear that is in the other room. But Post Saver sleeves, I'm a big fan. I don't sell them. I'm a buyer of them. I'm not a seller of them. But I think Post Saver sleeves are absolutely, if you're selling wood posts, Post Savers are the way to go because they are the answer to rot and deterioration of your post at ground level, which is rot, right? Those are the same thing. They are the answer to rotting posts. They also have a Post Saver 2.0, which is for the utility industry. So these big utility poles are also using the Post Saver technology as well. It's an incredible product. So Walter, congratulations. It sounds like you're investing in quality, which is absolutely better for the industry as a whole. So I thank you for that, sir. Yeah, Rivers End. So welcome to the channel. First time commenting tonight, so welcome. Vinyl shortages are the worst for us currently. Absolutely. So we don't install many vinyl fences. We install 1 or 2 a year, but I still get the emails from suppliers saying, vinyl availability is a major issue. So what I've deciphered, like I said, we don't buy hardly any vinyl material, but what I can decipher from the emails from the suppliers is that as long as you're wanting like a 6-foot solid privacy in white, that's available. But when you start getting into 5-foot solid with foot of lattice, or you start asking for any color other than white, i.e., wood grain, gray, almond, etc., that's when availability starts becoming a real issue. Is that they're focused on producing 6-foot white privacy, and they also produce some of the other stuff sometimes when they have availability. So that's why I've been discerning from the emails. Like I said, I'm not a buyer of vinyl, so I don't have a ton of experience. But yeah, so I agree. Vinyl shortage is a real thing. Jacob Bell agrees. Stainless steel experts are great. I can't sing their praises enough. And here's the thing: I was singing their praises before they were a sponsor on the channel. Like I said, Caleb and Ashley and their whole team. I don't mean to single anybody out or not include someone in the praise here. The Stainless Steel Experts team is great. They put on that event, the Stainless Steel Experts University, 3 weeks ago, for free. Their entire team jumped in and made that thing a success, along with Mr. Fence. Mr. Fence and the Mr. Fence team handled the fencing portion on Friday and knocked that out of the park completely. But yeah, so it is an absolute pleasure being around and getting to spend time around folks such as Stainless Steel Experts and Mr. Fence, the Mr. Fence team and the Stainless Steel Experts team, because we're all of the same mind that we're trying to make the industry better, by sheer force of will, by putting a lot of time in, by hosting free events, by giving our time to these events to try to help guys and gals better their business. And by bettering their business, they better the industry, as that's absolutely our mission. So, but I agree. Stainless Steel Experts are great. So Rivers End saying we can't get any vinyl and our suppliers can't give us a ship date. So Rivers End, it sounds like what you're saying is that's any vinyl, period. So even like white 6-foot privacy, solid privacy. And I hadn't realized it had gotten that bad. Probably because I'm not a buyer in that market. But yeah, so that's kind of bad news bears for the wood again. So here's what happened. So when the pressure treated pine shortage happened, that pushed that market or the buyers in that market into cedar, which put cedar in a shortage. So while cedar is not in a shortage currently, the prices certainly are rising. Like I said, this is an 80% increase or 80 cents per picket increase, in the last few months. But hearing that vinyl is now in shortage and in limited supply or no supply, just not available, period, makes me worried for the wood market again. So if you're looking for a privacy fence, you really want a vinyl privacy fence, but the vinyl materials aren't available. You probably dip down into because people kind of view everything in a hierarchy, right? So this isn't saying anything about anything, but this is just how I view the market. where it probably starts out with chain link, vinyl coated chain link, wood, vinyl, and then maybe ornamental steel and aluminum. I think ornamental steel, aluminum, and vinyl are all kind of top of market, with wood a slight step behind that. Now, listen, I'm not saying anything about anything. I'm a wood guy. Our company installs a lot of wood fence. I like wood a lot. I'm just saying I think from the general public perceives vinyl, steel, ornamental steel, and ornamental aluminum to be the premier products. But if you're wanting a privacy and that premier product of vinyl isn't available, I think you come down into wood, which then puts us into the wood shortage event all over again. And I really want to get out of that. I would really like to step away from worrying about if pickets are available in any sort of quantity. So we order our pickets by the truckload, by the semi-load, just because it's more convenient to have them here when we need them. There were a few times mid last year, where when we'd order a load, they say, well, we've got 3 bundles that we can allocate to you. So they had lumber available, but they're allocating it out to their dealers. So they say, well, you can have 3 bundles now. We can give you, maybe 3 more next week and 4 the week after that until they get up to truckload, instead of just simply sending out a truckload. So I'm worried that might come back if the vinyl market, goes into, the same situation that we saw pressure treated pine in the last year. So it could be a long year again. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it at all when you can't get your materials readily. No one likes price increases. Don't get me wrong. If we could not have a price increase and have, products just readily available, everybody wins in that scenario. Even the fence companies. Fence companies don't like charging more for fence. Like, I don't like having that conversation that, yes, I know I gave you a price a year ago, and now the price of your fence is 30 or 40% more for the same thing. I don't like having that conversation. It's not fun for me. But at the same time, we're not equipped to take on, to eat the difference in that 30 or 40% increase. Like, it's just not possible. So that increase has to be passed along to the client. But so it's a win-win. If we could get to a stable availability and maybe try to come back down to reality on pricing, that would be super swell. But I don't know. Here's the thing. The funny thing about the pricing is it never seems to come back down all the way. So like I said, we were paying $8.50 a post for a 4x4x8 pressure treated number 1 pine. Now we pay $12.50 to $13 a post for a number 2 pressure treated pine. So the price never comes back down all the way, no matter what, which is, odd or funny or, whatever. It doesn't make a lot of sense, is my point. So I don't know that we'll ever see pricing of cedar products back down to reality or back down to what used to be reality. I think we'll probably find a new normal here sometime soon, hopefully. River says, in my area, aluminum is quite a bit less than vinyl. Oh, okay. What is almost as much or more than vinyl at the moment? So that's interesting that ornamental aluminum in your market is quite a bit less than vinyl. So, excuse me. So I'm sitting here thinking about our pricing, where we are. See, I don't know where we would be on a 6-foot vinyl. Like I said, we only install a few projects a year, not enough to where I really have a firm grasp on like a per project basis on what our cost would be on that. But I know where we are on aluminum. I don't know. You're probably right. Well, no. Aluminum isn't quite a bit less. It's probably the same price as a 6-foot privacy fence right now. Cedar material, steel posts, same ballpark. Probably within $3 or $4 a foot of each other right now. I haven't priced aluminum this week, so I might be off on that, but I know we priced a couple last week. So my sister Sarah runs a residential division. So I usually see pricing just kind of pass across her desk. Aluminum right now is probably roughly the same price as a 6-foot privacy. So 6-foot privacy, we're talking about cedar materials on steel posts. It would still be an increase in price from if we're comparing aluminum to a pressure treated pine, it'd probably be a little bit more. It's interesting. The aluminum is quite a bit less than vinyl right now. So I wonder if that means, I don't know. It could mean that you're getting better pricing on aluminum, which that's interesting to know. Or it could just be that vinyl pricing is really that bad, which is probably where my head's going on that. Is that wow? So River followed up. It's about $8 a foot cheaper, aluminum versus vinyl. That's a lot. When we're talking about on a per foot basis, that's a lot. Interesting. So, I would almost guess that it's just the price of vinyl. I'd like you to confirm it, but is it just because the price of vinyl is so wildly exaggerated, or is it that aluminum? Have you seen a decrease in aluminum pricing, or is it just that vinyl pricing has gotten so crazy? I'd almost bet that that's kind of where that is, or that's the reason. Just vinyl pricing is getting so crazy that it makes aluminum that much more attractive. All right, again, not a sponsorship. I just get thirsty. And our little one hadn't been sleeping super well. But my wife is a saint, and my wife has been taking the overnight shifts with our daughter. But still, energy drinks because little ones. Jacob says 8-foot cedar picket pricing is insane right now. So in our market, 8-foot isn't as much of a thing. So in the city of Springfield, the Springfield Metro, the city of Springfield, city limits, you can't build 8-foot fence on a residentially zoned property. Now, if it's a commercially zoned property, well, you can on a residentially zoned, but it has to be inspected as a building structure. So you have inspections, you have permitting, you have to get engineered stamp drawings. So they make it really incredibly difficult to build 8-foot fence. I mean, hardly anyone does. Now, the ones that do, I don't know this for a fact, but I would hazard a guess that the 8-foot fences being built in the city of Springfield probably are not permitted. Just a guess, one guy's opinion, but I'm guessing that's the thing. So 8-foot fence isn't nearly as much of a thing here as what you'd see in other markets. I've got several contractors down kind of in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, Austin area, and 8-foot fence is pretty much all that market. It's rare that you get a fence that isn't 8 foot tall. Our market's primarily 6 foot. So, but I see the pricing that's going on in the 6 foot market, and I can only imagine what it's doing in 8 foot, because 8-foot boards are just harder to come by. I mean, it's not simply adding 2 foot onto a board. It's having a piece of lumber, having a log has enough usable wood in it for an 8 foot tall by whatever wide, usually 5.5 or 6 inch wide picket. There's just not as many 8-foot boards in a log as there are 6-foot boards. So the pricing can get pretty crazy. I agree, Jacob. All right, guys, if you're just joining us, remember to drop us a comment, whether you're watching us in the live or on the recording. If you're watching us on the recording, you've made it this far, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. You've obviously invested quite a bit of your time, and I appreciate that. If you're watching it live and you're just joining us, drop a comment below. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're from. So I like having a mental image of where everyone's from. Let's kind of recap where everybody is. Let's go all the way to the top. So let's see. The first one, WPH, was from New Zealand. That's incredible. I think that's absolutely unreal. Then we had Steven was here from the Springfield market, so right in my backyard. We had a question from, Jeff Keppert was here from Pennsylvania. Kevin Strain was in Chicago. We had a question. Ed Young was from the Atlanta area. Then we had, let's see. We got several guys from Texas. Walter is here from Ottawa, Canada. So our brothers and sisters to the north. We had Virginia. So Keisha was here from Virginia. Let's see. Well, it's Sean King. So Sean King's originally from Indiana, but he's visiting Cannon down in Tennessee. We've got some guys from Western Texas here. Pretty good representation of the United States, really. So we don't have any like far West Coast or Pacific Northwest. It's probably still a little bit early in the day for those guys. Yeah, still Are they 2 hours behind? So it's almost 3 o'clock there. So they're probably still out building fence, if I were to guess. Yeah. So guys, I get that question from time to time too about if we'll do a later broadcast. At this time, the answer is probably not. Only because I end this thing at 5:30 Central, so I can go hang out with a family, so my kids don't forget who I am. That's a plus. So doing it later in the night just means cutting into family time. They already don't see me much at all during the day. They see me in the morning real quick when they wake up, and then I'm out the door and I'm at work all day, and then I do this in the evening. So probably not doing it later in the evening. One thing that I'm interested in, and I'd like to pick your guys' brain on, get your opinion on, is getting back to a morning broadcast. We did that during the early days of the channel. We would do a Tuesday morning broadcast. So what it was is we record our content, the pre-recorded content that then we edit and post on Saturdays. We record that content on Tuesdays. And so I think it was the last Tuesday of the month, we would do a live broadcast that morning. I would just turn on the camera for a couple hours before we did the recorded video. Kind of like my warm up to my recorded content, really. I don't know if that's beneficial. It was kind of hit or miss. I tell you, the folks that showed up to the Tuesday mornings was our European crowd. So we had several guys from Europe that would show up in the chat regularly on the mornings, but obviously right now it's incredibly late in Europe. So I don't know, maybe a morning broadcast would be better for that group. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, if you guys would like it, then I'm certainly open to having morning broadcasts maybe once a month. Yeah. I want to help you guys when you want, when is best for you. So Jacob Bell says, I received a quote 2 weeks ago. It was $9 a picket. Dang, that's a ton. I'm having trouble processing that number. So I'm guessing that's for 6-inch wide or 5.5-inch wide, 8 foot tall for $9. Cedar, so it's probably Western red, I would hope. Man, $9 a picket is just a lot to chew on, isn't it? That's incredible. Michael's got a good point. Broadcast whenever, okay. Received. Just never put a wood post in the ground. So what we were talking about earlier, what Walter was talking about earlier was he had just bought 1,000 post savers, which is incredible. So I would use an asterisk here. Never put a wood post in the ground unless you're using a post saver product. The post saver product is going to resist rot. Now, it doesn't resist warping and twisting. So if your comment is in regards, to warping and twisting, then absolutely still on the money. But that post saver product, the post saver sleeves, really have a tremendous impact. I mean, they seal out. It's an actual barrier between the post and the microbes in the soil that lead to rot, and the wet and dry, going from a wet state to dry state back and forth, promoting rot that way. But all right, Michael says broadcast whenever. Message received. All right, well, guys, like I said, drop comments below. Let me know what you guys like to talk about, what you're interested in learning about or getting my opinion on. I mean, absolutely, I'd love to help you guys however I can. We can talk about obviously fencing content is well received. We could also talk about marketing, video, that sort of thing. Video is where my passion is at. And it's what I really love speaking on. And it's what I spoke on twice there in Nashville. It's what I'm speaking on next week in Atlanta. I am super passionate about video. I mean, that's what this channel is, right? This channel is about me producing video content to hopefully help someone somewhere either install a better fence or become more efficient when running their fence company. I'm just trying to help as many people as possible. And video is great at scaling that because you guys can watch this. I mean, you guys are watching this live. The majority of you are watching this live. Some folks will be watching this in recorded fashion. Now, when we're talking about our recorded videos that are typically only 8 to 10 minutes long, those are obviously all recorded views, or all views of recorded content. But you can watch whenever it's convenient for you. So when I was doing the overnight shift with our youngin, with our baby, I say overnight shift. I would do the last feeding that would fall somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. So I watched a lot of YouTube between midnight and 2 a.m. And because that's when it was convenient for me. So I like watching. I'm not a sailor. I've never actually sailed a boat, but I like watching YouTube channels about families that are on sailboats for whatever reason. I don't know. It's incredibly interesting to me to watch the family dynamic on a sailboat. And then also, they're in Australia, New Zealand, down there, WPH. They're all, Tonga, or they're bumping through the Caribbean. So one of the channels is making the trek. So I don't know about now. They might already be there, but now, as in the most recent video I watched, they were coming from the Canary Islands and sailing across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. So it's incredibly interesting to me. But anyway, they put up that content throughout the day, and then I watch it in the evening because that's when it's convenient for me. And that's the reason that I'm so passionate about this, because it lets your demographic, your potential clients, consume your content at a time that's best for them. So if it's me and I'm talking about the Postmaster Steel Post and I'm trying to talk to potential clients for my fence contracting business, maybe the most convenient time for them to watch that video is Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. when I'm typically asleep, as long as the kids are asleep and all that. So I would not be available to answer questions about the Steel Post. But if I record a video and I put it up on our Facebook and our YouTube page, then they can consume that content whenever is most convenient for them. Anyway, that's, like I said, that's why I'm incredibly passionate about creating good video. Guys, we're down to our last half hour. So it's 5 o'clock Central right now. I usually like to go to 5:30. We'll see how that goes. So if you guys, like I said, if you guys have any questions or comments, would like to talk about anything in particular, leave that in the comments below. If you guys are just joining us, drop a comment. Let me know who you are and where you're from. I'd like to say hello to you, and bring your comment up on screen. Let me scroll through, make sure I haven't missed anything here in the chat. Give you guys a second to put comments down in there. I think we're pretty caught up. I think we've about caught all of these comments and questions. Yeah, pretty caught up. So if you guys have any questions, comments, leave them in the chat below. If not, we might wrap this thing up early. If you guys don't have questions or comments, certainly not here to take up more of your guys' time than is needed and is decreased in value. Obviously, we don't want to do that. So, and my kids definitely won't complain about seeing me home early. So that'd be a thing too. For those of you just joining, we are in the new studio. If you guys weren't here for the very beginning, which if you were, thank you. That's like 2 hours worth of watching me just talk about fence stuff, which is a lot. This is a new studio. So we used to lease a studio space, which is actually only 5 or 10 minutes away, depending on traffic. But the problem is, and it was a smaller space, so smaller than the one that we're in right now. And it was a bit of a process because anytime I wanted to create content, I'd have to wrap everything up in my office, jump in my truck, drive 5 or 10 minutes, unlock the studio, get everything started, create content, and then know that I'd have to shut everything down, then come back to the office. So now where we are right now, so it's a new studio. We bought a new office building, or a new set of buildings, in the property that was next to our existing fence company. So essentially what we did is we just expanded over into the new building. Took a little bit of work, took some infill work for sure. We had to remodel the front office. Then we had to kind of change the studio up here. This was a caretaker's quarters, so kind of like a living quarters. And we changed it into a YouTube studio. And so we moved all our offices over Friday, all day Friday into Friday evening. And then I was here Saturday. I don't think I came in Sunday. I think I got everything done on Saturday night. And then, and then the studio we brought over kind of first part of this week. Yesterday, Jeremy and I spent most of the day yesterday bringing all the video equipment over. We got the video camera, we got a couple lights, we got the audio equipment, and then kind of getting everything set up. And this is kind of the studio version 1.0. Like this is just the current version of it. We're probably going to make changes. We're doing quite a bit of geometry here, figuring out exactly where this desk should be and that camera should be, so that the camera is viewing, the correct angle off the corner that you guys see behind me there. Lots of measuring going on here. And so this probably isn't the final resting spot for the table. or the camera. So this perspective could change a little bit, but the general layout is set, I think. Of course, it's all open to interpretation. We might view it next week and realize that if we move the monitor over a little bit and the camera, then we maybe have a better angle for you guys. One thing I'm really still pushing for is, so if you guys have watched the beginning of these live broadcasts, it's a 5-minute countdown timer. And full transparency, what I'm doing is in that 5 minutes, I'm sharing the link out to this all over Facebook. So the Facebook groups that I'm in, and it's a mad dash for me to get all that shared. But you guys, all you're doing is watching, you're watching the countdown clock, and that's not entertaining. No one just wants to watch a 5-minute countdown. So what I want to do, so you guys are watching me straight on in this camera. So what I want to do is I want to put a camera up, higher and over my shoulder, not over my shoulder, but across my shoulder, to give you guys like a behind the scenes view of what's going on for that first 5 minutes. If I have guests, it's us getting, if we're getting mic'd up or if we're getting mics ready, or me sharing out content here on the laptop or adjusting the audio, whatever it is. I like to give you guys like a backstage look at what's going on here. Now, when we moved the studio over, we did we did a video during the move, which just made the move last longer, but of what it's like to tear down the studio, what it's like to get everything, torn down and out and then reset up, and then give you guys kind of a quick look at like the equipment I use, because that's a question I get a lot. And all of the videos in the description below, I have links to the equipment I use. They are affiliate links. If any of you guys aren't familiar with Amazon, the affiliate links aren't exactly lucrative. I think we average $5 or $6 a month in affiliate payments from Amazon, but full transparency, they are affiliate links. So if you click them, we might get $1 or $2 from a purchase. But anyway, affiliate links for all of the equipment that we use. But I wanted to show you guys a video of how this looks from my perspective. When I'm sitting here, you guys obviously have your perspective, but from my perspective, what does it look like? Where are the lights placed, where the camera's placed, the monitor, the laptop audio, and all that. So we did a video on that. I'd like to give you guys kind of a more behind the scenes look. It's something that I enjoy watching, in the channels that I watch. So I do a lot of the networking here too. So there's there's a channel called Linux Tech Tips, and I always love when they do like behind the scenes, views of their studios or their equipment they use. So I wanted to produce that content for you guys as well. Jason, welcome back. Studio looks great so far. Appreciate that. I really do. So we're, it's a work in progress, So this back here is a product called Rewood. I'm super proud of this. Full transparency, I got a discount because we did a review video that you guys will be seeing here in a few weeks for the installation of the product. But I love it. It's a recycled redwood fence picket. So what better backdrop for a fencing company than recycled fence pickets, right? And since it's redwood, it's a quality product. You can see they've got a good mixture. I'm just looking here over my shoulder. They've got a good mixture of natural gray boards. They've got some stained boards. They got, painted and stained, both in there, a good mixture of both. Visually, it's really interesting. I like the product a lot. It's a good mix of lengths of boards too, right? So you've got some short boards, some long boards. I think there was like 8 or 10 different lengths of boards all throughout this palette they sent over. Incredibly quality product. She says, I'm still new to the fencing business. What is the easiest way to deal with the issue of customers splitting the cost of the shared fence? Am I the middleman? Do I contact the neighbor? No. Well, you do you. I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I'll give you my perspective. In our business, we're not the middleman. So we do business with our client. Who they choose to split the cost with is absolutely their prerogative. They're welcome to. We encourage it. We encourage them to have a conversation with their neighbors, reach out, because there's a good chance that neighbor has considered replacing the fence anyway. And now they're letting our client do the legwork on getting the bids and selecting the contractors and doing the deposit, all of the legwork on this. And so usually that conversation goes better than the customers. I really think they anticipate, a confrontation or something, because when we're talking to them about having a conversation with the neighbors, like, I really don't know. I'll probably just do this myself, which is fine. Like, I'm not going to force someone to go talk to their neighbors, but You never know. They might be willing to share the cost. And then all of a sudden, that part of the fence now is half price or whatever the percentage that you negotiate. But the one thing we tell our clients is we're not a multi-party billing company. Like we will not bill 3 or 4 different people for the same fence. We will bill you for the fence, and we will show you a breakdown of this. The east line is X amount of dollars. So your half is this, their half is that. The west line, the north line, whatever, the sidelines and back lines are this much, and we'll document it so that then they will feel more comfortable showing it to the neighbor. It's not them saying, "Oh yeah, that fence, it was like that part was like $4,000. You owe me $2,000." We'll actually write it out with a diagram so they can see. All right, it says right here that this line actually cost, whatever, $4,293.72. Your half would be whatever half of that is. I'm not into math, but so we'll help in that regards. But when it comes to billing, we will bill our client the full amount, and then it's up to them to then get payment for whatever their negotiation is with their neighbors. So we encourage it, but we don't do multi-party billing. We're not in the middle. We're simply the contractor providing the fencing for the person that we have a contract with. Stansfield, Fort Worth, you got it. See behind the scenes. We'll have that video come out. Jeremy and I were talking yesterday. I think we're talking about the content calendar and kind of what uploads are coming up. I think we're going to try to have that video out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The studio move. I think, and as soon as I say this, it isn't going to be right. And Jeremy's, not going to be unhappy, but he doesn't like it when I speak out of turn. But not out of turn, but when I say things that maybe not that are hard to keep up with. But so this Saturday is a Mitre 10. It's a New Zealand contractor building wood fence. So it's my review of that. And then after that, I believe it's the Rewood. So showing you guys kind of behind the scenes look on what it looks like to install this product. And then what is it? And then I think we've got the facility walkthrough with Stand Still experts. And then I think we've got the studio move. So what's that? 4 weeks, I think. Here in about 4 weeks, you guys will have a behind the scenes tour of the new studio. But like I said, I'd like to put a camera kind of up near the ceiling somewhere to give you guys before the broadcast, give you guys somewhat of a behind the scenes look. You got it. Stay in Seal Fort Worth. Appreciate you guys tuning in. All right, guys, it is getting close. It's 5:10, so we got about another 20 minutes. If you guys have questions, comments, drop them in the comments below. If you guys are just viewing this live or recorded, drop me a comment in the comments right now. Let me know you're here by saying hi so I can say hello back. And also let me know where you're at, because I love having a mental image of where my fans are from or where the viewers are from. I don't want to be too assumptuous, make assumptions that you guys are fans. Just where our viewers are from. Let's say that. But all right, guys. Honestly, I'm running out of things to talk about. So usually I'm a little bit more prepared for these, but today's been kind of a crazy day. It's been dumping rain. We had a chain link fence to build around. It was in a water detention basin around a water drain because this drain kept getting clogged with leaves. And so the solution was to build a chain link fence around it, which then that just turns the chain link fence into a dam, right? But we're only fence guys. These guys designed this thing. So, all right, our job is to build the fence. The problem is so when we started building this fence, it was dry. It was a little bit cloudy, kind of spitting rain, but not a big deal. So to get a backstory, this retainage basin, the basin that leads to this retainage basin is 500 acres. So it's all the water that falls on this 500 acres ends up at this drain. So I forget what the ratio was, but it's like for every quarter inch of rain, it ends up being like a foot of water in at this drain or something crazy. Then it starts raining. So we're in the middle. We've already plated the posts are already plated, but we've already anchored in the post. We're cutting in the rail, running the wire, and then it starts pouring, just dumping rain. But we're already in the middle. We've already started. We've already allocated our time today. We've got other places to be tomorrow. So we ended up looking like drowned rats, and the guys were champs. So the water came into this basin pretty quickly, and before you knew it, the guys were up to their knees in water installing this chain link fence. Yeah, so today was a little bit crazy. We were trying to get that done, and then after that, it was coming in here and trying to like put some finishing touches, not finishing touches, but putting a little bit more finished touches on what Jeremy and I set up yesterday, and then getting this ready to go. It's been a crazy day. So I say all that to say I'm not as well prepared today as I have been in broadcast past, and I apologize for that. But we're improving and we're getting better is the goal, is the hope, right? But yeah, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes to have any questions, comments. If nothing else, we might sign off a little bit early. Let you guys get on with your days or your evenings, and let me get on to the kiddos and go see the little ones. Luckily, the baby is starting sleeping a little bit better. So my wife, who is a saint, is getting a little bit more sleep. So that's always good for all of us. Jackson is 3, and he is just as much of a 3-year-old as he's ever been. And then Macy's 12. So Macy's her school quarter ends tonight at midnight. It's technically over tomorrow, but their assignments had to be in tonight by midnight. So she is busy getting all of her work done and getting all schoolwork done. So anyway, I'll go home and see them, and maybe eat dinner with the family. That'd be something new and novel this week. Yeah, so Rivers Inn has kind of the same opinion. Let the neighbors work it out. Give them the fence price and figure out the per foot price. Bill one of them and let them collect from the neighbor. 100%. Now, so the way Rivers explained this, it sounds like his experience is like ours. We've tried the multi-party billing in the past, where we were kind of to use your word, we're kind of the middleman in this, right? Where we'd have, if we're dealing with our owner or our client, our homeowner, and then each side and neighbor behind. So we'd have like 4 different contracts with 4 different people for one fence installation. That would always get not weird, just overly complicated. And then what happens? So here's the crazy part, right? So what happens if our client pays the bill, but the neighbor that's sharing their half of the fence doesn't pay their bill, and we have separate contracts? Well, so usually what we'll end up doing is if it's our client, then we'll file a lien. Well, I guess technically in this scenario, if we're billing all of them, they're all our clients, but we would file a lien on the property for the fence that's installed. But, I don't know. That would get messy in a hurry. We've done it in the past, and it's never ended up very well. So I agree with River. Let the neighbors work it out. Make it easy for them, right? So like I said, everything's documented and on the drawing. So usually, when you draw out your house and then draw out the fence around it, then we would notate on each side, this line is 42 feet. It equals this many dollars. The back line is this many dollars, sideline this many dollars. It all totals up to the final tally up in the top corner. It all works out mathematically, but here's the price of each of these lines. And then, like River said, then it's up to them to go negotiate with their neighbor. Say, hey, here's exactly how much it is. Here, here's, do you want to split this with me, or do you want to pay? What percentage do you want to pay? Or, can you contribute to the project? Let them negotiate it. And let them do the collecting. Because at the end of the day, we're going to collect our money directly from that client. And then it's up to them on whatever they negotiate and whatever they collect. I agree, River. Jason, you're very welcome. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in with me and listening to me ramble on. I appreciate that, and asking great questions. So it gives me something more content to talk about. So what we do too in our content creation, we've got a whiteboard. We haven't figured out exactly where we're going to put this whiteboard. And the other studio is kind of right off screen. And so what we would do is we would go through the comments in the live videos and in the recorded videos, and we'd use those comments to create more content, right? So in this example, Jason, we would use your question on, is it common for neighbors to share a fence? So don't be surprised when, here in a couple months, maybe a video comes out. What do you do when your neighbors, want to share the cost of fence with you? It's how we create new content. So I appreciate you guys asking questions, because it helps us. One, it helps fill the time in this live broadcast, right? but then also it also helps us develop more content to provide in the future. It's one of those things. It's weird because like I have this experience, but I don't know exactly what content you guys like watching, right? Because I'm not you. I have my experience, you have yours, and I don't know exactly what you do or don't want to know or need to know. So by asking questions, it helps me know what content that you would like to see, and help me provide tailored content for you guys. Absolutely, River. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Well, guys, I tell you what, it's pretty close to 5:30 Central, which is when we like to wrap this up. I literally just looked at that. It's 5:18. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for now for this week. Again, there will be no broadcast next week. I'll be speaking to a group of power washing contractors in Atlanta about trying to get them to start creating video content to meet their future clients on their future clients' timeline. So no live broadcast next week. We'll be back with you the week after next with Caleb from Stainsville Experts, answering all of your staying and sealing questions, as well as post savers and fence armor. So, guys, for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. I'll see you guys next time.